welcome to a new video. I hope everybody is doing well. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stefy and I'm a lifestyle vlogger, vlogging all things life such as travel vlogs, weekend vlogs, hauls, reviews, etc. As the title of today's video suggests, this is what books I read in October. I'm a little bit late in posting this because I've been it's my first ever kind of BookTube related video. I have been reading a lot this year, and I'm kind of getting into the whole book talk, BookTube thing as well, and so I've been inspired to do a book related video for this channel, and hopefully I will continue to do so because yes, I am blitzing through books a lot. Not as much as most people, but yeah, I've been reading quite a lot. In October I read 4 books, as you can see here, and I'll give you a quick sneak peek. Yeah, I read 4 books, and yeah, I just kind of wanted to share my opinions, see what you guys think. These reviews, videos, anything I do book related will always be spoiler free, because I know there's a majority of people that like the spoilers and don't like the spoilers, but this will be spoiler free because I'm doing this in mind for those that, if they haven't read the book and they're thinking about it, it just gives you a general idea. I will be referring to some notes that I wrote before putting this up. That's why it took so long to get this up, being 2 weeks, well, as of today, 2 weeks into November. Because again, I was trying to think how to write a book review, or how to write it that it's not too vague, blah blah blah, and also no spoilers. But yeah, let's get on with the first book. This was one of the books I read in October. I've read Harry Potter before, majority of everyone has read Harry Potter before, but this is a special one because it is a Mina Lima edition of Harry Potter. And this book, it's just stunning. I mean, just from the cover, like, it's hardback obviously, but just from the cover it's just so beautiful. You've got the 4 houses in the 4 corners, so we've got Gryffindor and Ravenclaw here, and then Hufflepuff and Slytherin, and then yeah, the main picture is obviously our 3 characters looking at Hogwarts across the Great Lake. And yeah, this is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And it's kind of like an interactive book, a bit of a pop-out book, but I will show you. This is the, I'm not going to show everything, but it's obviously the inside part. It's one of the chapters, and then his first time seeing the Great Hall and all the teachers, and then pop-out feature. We've got his first time seeing Diagon Alley. God, this is hard. I also don't want the other bits to fall out, but you can see there it's all the shops. Oh, I'm trying not to break it. Up there. It's just so beautiful. But Harry Potter, I mean, the majority of everyone has read, I hope, Harry Potter. And it's basically about this young lad called Harry, who lives with his aunt and uncle, and he lives with his aunt and uncle because sadly his parents died in a tragic accident. And yeah, it just sort of goes from when he finds out that he is a wizard, and it's one of the best things that happens to him in his life, discovering this, because staying with his aunt and uncle, he also has a cousin called Dudley, it's not been fun growing up with them. They just treat him like he's not even part of their family, which is very sad. So when he finds out he's a wizard and he gets to go to this magical school of witchcraft and wizardry, he is all for it, and as you can imagine, adventure ensues. He makes friends, and yeah, that's all I'll say. But reading it again, I did enjoy it, and it brought back, because I've watched the movies more than I have read the books. I think this is my third go around reading from the beginning. And yeah, you do remember some bits that aren't in the movie. You do miss some of the scenes that were cut from the movie that should have been in the book. But overall, you know, it's a good reread for me. The illustrations in this book are just beautiful. I give this an 8 out of 10 because it wasn't my favourite of all the books, but I did enjoy reading it again as an origin to, you know, basically building up to the next books. And I do have the second version of this. I acquired it very recently, so I will be reading that soon because I'm excited to see all the illustrations. The next book I read was The Times Convert by Deborah Harkness, and this is I've forgotten the name of it now, but it's a standalone from the All Souls trilogy, which is the Discovery of Witches. That series, oh my god, I absolutely loved that series. I devoured it. I think I started reading it after the second series of the TV show, because I needed answers to questions I had, and yeah, I just devoured it. I bought the books, read them, and yeah. So when I saw, because after I read it I was just empty. I was like, what now, what do I do? So I saw that she had written a standalone book. Times Convert is about Marcus Whitmore, who is a vampire. He is one of the good guys, and it's about him and his soon-to-be mate Phoebe, who, now this I guess is a kind of spoiler if you haven't read the All Souls trilogy, but it's about her transitioning into becoming a vampire herself because she is currently human. So it kind of dips into that where we read about how Phoebe is transitioning into becoming a vampire. It's very detailed and very, I liked it basically. The explanations and the senses and why it's just super sensitive to just even have a light bulb on kind of thing. It's one of those things that you need to adjust to. It's almost like you transcend from going from a human, and it's just this whole other world which is so sensory and so much better than being a human kind of thing. And then it also touches on Marcus's life from when and how he became a vampire, also pre-vampire as well, what his life was like as a human, and then just going through the ages. And then there are some characters in here that were in the All Souls trilogy, and it's also kind of like a separate story there as well for them, which carries on from the All Souls, but it's not like the next book on, you know, because the All Souls is a trilogy, so this isn't like a, you know, it's just like a sneak peek into the lives of those two characters. And yeah, I enjoyed reading this book, and I enjoyed that there was some of the characters from All Souls in there as well. But I also felt like there was too much of their story in there, because it's almost like being teased, because, you know, for those that love the trilogy, you obviously want more after that, but then because of that, you need that kind of closure at the end of that book to say, yes, I'm satisfied, I'm happy, and then I'll reread it at some point again. But this one, I think it had too much of those characters in here, that it was like teasing, and it wasn't an entire book about them to get more story in. But yeah, it could have done with a bit less of them. I wasn't as gripped with this book as I was with the All Souls trilogy, which is kind of understandable with these, oh that's it, not standalone, spin-offs. It's a spin-off. But it was all good still the same. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't, yeah, as gripping as as the All Souls trilogy, but I would definitely recommend reading it for something that you need after reading the All Souls trilogy. And if you haven't read the All Souls trilogy, you need to read it. But I would give this a 7 out of 10. The next book I read after Time's Combat was Raybearer by Jordan Ifuko. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. Oh my god, this is a duology. There's 2 books in this series. Wow, I absolutely loved this. This I devoured. I was gripped. And I mean, even just like looking at the cover, it's so beautiful. So I think these are the UK covers, and then the other ones are, there is an actual person or the character on here. But I love these I love these covers. So this book is basically, what I'm going to do is I will read, I should have done it for the other one, so sorry I didn't. Learn for next time. I will read the synopsis on the back of the book. So Teresa has always longed for the warmth of a family. She was raised in isolation by her mysterious and cunning and often absent mother, known only as the Lady. When Teresa comes of age, the Lady sends her to the capital of the global empire of Aritsar to be chosen as one of the Crown Prince's Council of 11. If she's picked, she'll be joined with the other council members through the Ray, a bond deeper than blood. But the Lady has other ideas, including a magical wish that Teresa is compelled to obey. Kill the Crown Prince once she gains his trust. So, no spoilers there because this is what's on the back of the book. So if you were tempted to read it and you've read the description, I haven't spoiled it. But yeah, this book, oh my god, I loved it so much. So I think for me, I'm very much now a fantasy reader. I really enjoy fantasy books. That is my genre. So this is a fantasy book. It's not your typical fantasy book either. This is set in a completely different setting. This is like a West African culture fantasy, and it's just a different world and a different culture, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because with your fantasy, it's your typical, I guess for me, English style, old school, medieval-ish, you know, with your fae and all of those, and this was just like bursting into another world full of colour and culture. And yeah, it was the vibrancy with which, you know, Jordan details the surroundings, interiors of the palace and the clothing. It just makes you imagine that there is such a colourful world that you just want to know more about and experience. This is my little notebook, by the way. Things I loved about this book. So I loved the closeness of the council through the Ray, and how they all become a family, supporting each other no matter what is going on. And I just like that wholesomeness that, you know, you started out as strangers and now you're this tight-knit family, and I love that. I was attached to everyone really. I liked all the characters, and I felt Teresa's struggle against her nature as such. You know, there's this wish that's happened and she has to do it. She really struggles against it. It's also going to be made into a Netflix show, so I am super excited for this because, yeah, as I said, the vibrancy, the description of how she details everything in this world, I cannot wait to see that come about on screen, especially with the you know, when they all come together and there's sort of these songs that they sing, and I know it's not a song and I've forgotten the name of it, so I apologise for that, but it will be good to see that come into play. And yeah, I cannot wait. I think my favourite part in the book was towards the end, and the twist reveal that occurs. But it was, I remember reading it and I felt like being there. My heart was hammering reading it, and I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And yeah. So I would give this a 9 out of 10. I loved it so much. There were certain bits that it took me a while to understand, hence why it wasn't 10 out of 10, but then I guess you get that when you read the first in the book, in a book series. But yeah, I definitely was very excited to read the second one and see what the outcome of everything would be. So after Raybearer, I started reading a different book because I was waiting for the second book to arrive and I wanted to read something. So I started reading, and I forgot to put this in the beginning because I forgot. I started reading the Shadow and Bone series collection. And so I started reading Shadow and Bone, and this is part of it's a trilogy, and I actually have the box set for the trilogy. I got it for my birthday, and yeah, love it. And I love the covers as well, lovely and shiny and beautiful, very arty. And I actually, so this is Shadow and Bone, Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. It's a very popular book series, which I'm sure everybody is aware of, and it's also a Netflix show, and I actually watched the show before I read the book. So in reading the book I had the show in mind, so I was seeing who played Alina and Mal, and so that was who I imagined when I was reading this, which sometimes I guess is not a bad thing, but I will say this, it is completely different. The show is completely different to this book. Let's get my notes. So yeah, I watched it before. There is definitely a few things missing from the book in the TV series. There are a lot of aspects of this book obviously in the show, but then they bring in other things from other areas, and then you think to yourself, oh, it is strange that, you know, I've watched the show but this is not there in the book. So it was fine, I got over it pretty easy. But yeah, the show completed a different story to what you're reading in here. But that aside, when I was reading it, I did remember parts from the show, and then some bits that were missing. I don't think what was missing was too major. It was just reading it in a different way, if that makes sense. But I enjoyed it overall. The Grishaverse is definitely a magnificent universe to read about, with all the magic and it isn't magic, they call it science. So I will read you the synopsis if you like. Alina Starkov is a soldier. When her regiment is attacked whilst crossing the Shadowfold, a swath of unnatural darkness crawling with monsters, Alina unleashes dormant magic not even she knew she possessed. Now Alina will enter a lavish world of royalty and intrigue as she trains with the Grisha, her country's magical military elite, and falls under the spell of their notorious leader, the Darkling. He believes Alina can summon a force capable of destroying the Shadowfold and reuniting their war-ravaged country, but only if she can master her untamed gift. But as Alina unlocks the secrets of her past, she will make a dangerous discovery that could threaten all she loves and the very future of a nation. So, there you have it. That is the synopsis. It was a good book. I did enjoy reading it. I felt like Alina's character was definitely stronger in the book compared to the show. So, although she did get annoying at times. A bit too whingy. And I think because I watched the show, I knew what to expect, so I didn't get that first time immersive feel. But you know, I still enjoyed it overall, and it definitely made me keen to want to read the next chapter or the next book, because, you know, after watching the show you want to know what happens next, and I could do that with the next book. But I think overall oh, I didn't put down my rating. I would give the book an 8 out of 10. The last book I read in October was Redempta, which is the sequel to Raybearer by Jordan Ifweko. Sorry. And just look at this cover. It is even more stunning than the second. It's almost like bioluminescence looking. It's beautiful. And also these have a significance in the book. Obviously I'm not going to spoil that for you. I am going to put these two side by side though, so you can see the beauty that is them. So let's read you a synopsis for the second book. For the first time, oh no, do I want to read you the synopsis because it kind of spoils it for you. Okay, so if you've not read Raybearer, I wouldn't carry on watching this video because it's going to spoil it for you. But for those of you who have, but you haven't read the second, anyway. For the first time, an Empress Redempta sits on Aritsar's throne. To appease the sinister spirits of the dead, Teresa must anoint a council of her own coming. To appease the spirits of the dead, Teresa must announce a council of her own, coming into her full power as Raybearer and descend into the underworld, a sacrifice to end all future atrocities. Teresa is determined to survive, but months into her shaky reign as Empress, child spirits begin to haunt her, demanding that she pays for past sins of the Empire. With the lives of her loved ones on the line, assassination attempts from unknown quarters, and a handsome new stranger she can't quite trust, Teresa must decide whether to die for justice or to live for it. An epic, exhilarating finale, says the New York Times. I loved this book just as much as I loved the first one. And it did not disappoint in the least. I mean, it did feel a little slow going at first. Like, I thought the elephant in the room, the main point of the second book, just didn't feel like it was getting addressed as quickly as I wanted it to be addressed. It was almost like there was a subplot in between before you get to what this book was all about, or what the ending of the first book that you knew to expect for the second book would be, if that makes sense. I didn't like how Teresa was just so alone for the majority of this book because of the spirits that is mentioned. You know, I understand why it felt shattering at times, especially when she has such a strong bond with the council, but I just felt like making her go this alone and feel alone constantly, it was just quite soul shattering as well, because you could understand that, you know, what she was going through with these spirits, it was horrible, and I didn't like that it was constantly going on. You know, I wanted her to kind of push through it and get to that strong and just push it aside, but we're introduced to some new characters as well, and I enjoyed reading about them, and I enjoyed Teresa getting to know them all, and you know, the overall end result from her getting to know them. Again, the world building was just stunning, and you get to learn about different parts of the kingdom, and it goes into a bit more detail, like when she goes to the markets or does some shopping. It was very, like, it just in my head, I just imagine this awesome looking like market souk type place, and yeah, can't wait to see that in the Netflix series. I think her progression, Teresa's progression in other aspects is strong, and I love her relationship development with all the new characters, and obviously her council family as well. There are two events towards the end of the book which had me absolutely gripped, and overall I was very happy with how it ended. So you've got one scenario with one of the new characters, and you know, a bit of it is kind of sad, but just the overall, it was just like, yes, power to the people kind of thing. And then obviously the main story of why we're here at this second stage. The result was, again, there was a bit of closure in there as well, and yeah, I was happy with how it ended overall. I hated that it ended, obviously, because I want more. I want to read more about this beautiful, stunning world. But as with all good things, they must come to an end. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this duology. I love these books and I definitely will be reading them again. And I think this one definitely has to get a 9 out of 10 too. It would have got a 10 out of 10 if not for some of those negative bits that I said. But overall, yeah, it's a fantastic book, and if you haven't read it, definitely read it. And sorry if I did spoil it for you if you haven't read it. But yeah, those were the books I read in October. What do you guys think? Have you read these books? Do you agree with some of what I've said? I would ask you to be kind with me because I've never done anything like this before. You know, I just read for me, and the way I read is I just consume it, but then I don't necessarily keep everything in. Like, I remember bits that help to progress with the story, obviously. But yeah, I don't read with the thing in mind that I'm going to start talking to people about it, like book club or reviews, etc. So I'm in no way a book reviewer. I'm a very, very, very big amateur. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a like. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad once I edit this back, because if it's not, then I may do books I read in November, because I've already got a couple of books down already and I am currently reading one. But yeah, please do give it a like if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.